Hey guys, ParallaxStella here, and welcome to the very first episode of Game Talks with Stella. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be discussing games that I've played, that I've experienced, and I'm going to give my own input on them. This means my own opinion, my own research that I've done, and then a fan-given rating. So this rating is not going to be professional judgment at all, it's just going to be based off of my own experience and my own opinion of the game. So for the very first episode of this new segment, I'm going to be discussing a game called Path of Exile. This game was released early last year in January by a company called Grinding Gear Games. Grinding Gear Games is a company located in New Zealand, and it was founded there in 2006. It was actually run and put together by a bunch of friends who were frustrated because there was a lack of action online RPG games that were coming out. So basically they just decided to get together and say, hey, no one else is coming out with this, why don't we just do it ourselves? I think it's pretty amazing that just a small group of people came together to develop this and publish it in such a short amount of time, because it's an action online RPG that is completely free to play. Even the storage chests located in regional towns are actually private, and players are given 4 spaces of inventory space to use for free. And this is interchangeable between your different characters. So let's say you have a level 100 witch or a ranger, and you decide to start up a new character. Well, the items that you put into your chest, you can use for your new character. Nothing in this game requires real money except for vanity items like clothing and accessories and cosmetic changes, like how you look. And interestingly enough, during the closed beta in January 2013, the game had actually received $2.2 million in just crowdsourced donations. Really, at first glance, when I played this, the game felt like an expanded and more mature and developed RuneScape. It's based on an overhead perspective, kind of like RuneScape's layout, as well as Diablo 2's. There's 6 available classes: the Duelist,
He had it coming.
Marauder,
I was born to fight.
Ranger,
Can't own a life.
Shadow,
Silence a big mouth, get a big payout.
Templar,
I fought, wept, and bled for God.
Witch,
They were right to fear me.
and one more class that is unlocked by finishing the game in standard mode, called Scion. These classes aren't gender changeable, but each class has their own specific lore and story that gives the game a more authentic adventure feel. The background and story are kept really simple and really short to keep players interested, but not overbear them with tons of information and details that might slow down gameplay.
Fine work with Hillock. Where'd you learn to fight like that?
With the usage of engaging voice acting, the game's story is actually narrated by quite a few characters and moves the story along. The story is based in Rayclast, a once glorious and golden empire that fell into darkness, that now serves as a sort of banishment island for criminals from a nearby island called Orgeth. Like I mentioned earlier, each of the 6 classes have different backgrounds that explain very vaguely how the different classes were exiled to the island. As players advance in the game, the story reveals that Rayclast actually holds dark and bloody secrets about the fantasy realm the game takes place in. Normally, stories in expansive RPG games like this get really cluttered and take up space in gameplay, but Path of Exile gets to the point of the quests and main turning points across without distracting from the gameplay itself. As far as playability goes, the game is pretty easy to learn and jump into. Granted, there are a few things that a tutorial would teach new players, but overall the controls for Path of Exile are so simple that it makes up for the lack of instructions. When I first jumped into the first section of, I guess, the tutorial island, I actually learned how to kill, how to attack, how to auto-attack, and how to heal up, use mana, pick up items. So I learned all the basics, and it was actually pretty nice because it was simple enough that I could figure it out on my own without getting confused. With action role-playing games like this, developers really have to be careful in not making the gameplay tedious and never-ending. Because if you turn quests and traveling into different areas interesting without seeming too repetitive, that's a job well done. Path of Exile actually took an interesting approach to this by updating the game with a new setting that regenerates areas every 10 minutes or so of a player leaving that area. So basically it renders the explored map, or a section of it, completely new again when you visit it in 10 minutes. Another additional setting that was really nice to have was being able to remove a skill gem from one weapon to another, or clothes to weapons, or vice versa. Usually such gems will be bound to a single object or item of clothing, leaving players without a certain skill set when upgrading armors or weapons. It was a really nice touch, it was subtle, but it allows you to keep gems, especially when you decide to change characters and they don't have anything. To be quite honest with you guys, I hadn't heard of this game until a week or so when I saw someone mention it on Tumblr. It looked interesting, so I gave it a shot and downloaded it. After all, it was a free-to-play game. So after playing a good couple of hours into it and gathering some pretty decent items, I pretty much knew I was hooked. It was a really refreshing take on the action role-playing game genre, and I was pretty embarrassed to say that I hadn't played it until much after its release. Overall, I'd give this game a tentative 8 out of 10 Scrolls of Wisdom. I say tentative because I've only been playing for less than a week now, but I really like the innovation behind Path of Exile. Even though I discovered it late, I'll definitely be playing this game rapidly for a while. Well guys, let me know how you liked this first Game Talk with Stella video, and let me know what your opinions are about this game. If you guys haven't tried this game yet, I strongly suggest that you get out there and download the game. I will warn you that there's a little bit of a loading startup time when you first open the game, but trust me, if it says it's not responding, it means you're just that much closer to getting it to open. I'm just kidding, it really doesn't take that long, but seriously, give it some time to process before you decide to open it. So let me know in the comments below what other games you'd like me to talk about or research and experience for myself so that I can explain it to other viewers. Also, I think that for my schedule for Game Talk with Stella, I'm going to try to put out a video every Wednesday for this, so that there's some new content every week. Well, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay awesome, Stella Rangers. See ya! I have a present for you. I gotta stop throwing bottles at people's faces. It's just so much fun, though. Okay.